Welcome to Tech Tuesdays. This is Sustained Ability, streaming live on Ariel Judah worldwide via the Spirit of the Game Foundation and the World of Ability Network. So today is about Tech Tuesday. So we're jumping right into the gears today. So yesterday was Movement Monday, aka Money Mondays. We cleared our baseline metrics and established our financial momentum. Today is about the machine that drives those numbers. Today we confront our infrastructure. So let's call out the biggest trap killing social equity startups and modern humanitarian projects right now, the automation mirage. So analytical thinkers love software because software is safe. So it feels like work to spend 12 hours configuring a database. It feels like progress to redesign a user interface or to fiddle with integrations in a Vercel environment. But let's be honest about what that actually is productive procrastination. So you're building a digital monument for a community you haven't even looked in the eye yet. So if your baseline process is confusing, disorganized, or broken, automating it just means that you're magnifying the chaos at a much faster rate. So the idea is, look at your workflow right now. So make sure that you're brave enough to look at the actual functions of the softwares that you're building or the tools that you're building or the automations that you're looking to create. A lot of people are creating, super agents and CRM workflows, but not actually doing the work first. So we want to make sure we go over the golden law of Tech Tuesday. If you cannot execute your solution for one single human being using a pad of paper, a pen, and a direct phone call, then software will not save you. Technology is an accelerator, not a savior. So today we put the tools down, we step out of the trap, and we get raw. All right, so the three-step root analysis. So to be of actual service out on the front lines, you have to know how to isolate real human friction. So we don't guess what our people need, we audit their manual workarounds. So when you look at a high performing founder, a local nonprofit or a virtual missionary network, you do not pitch them a tech stack. Instead, you want to run them through three historical fact based baseline questions to find out where the wheels are falling off the truck. So basically, so we're going over three things. So first, you want to look at past behavior. So you want to ask, how are your logistics looking? What are you coordinating in the field? How did your progress look last week? If they tell you they're manually copying data from a chaotic email chain, really pay attention and leverage that, because that broken workaround is something that you can leverage to really find a solution in that issue. So second, find a bleeding edge. So what is the exact moment that you wanted to throw your phone out the window during your process? Like what really makes you upset, when you're trying to solve your community issue? Maybe you have issue with, zoning or, local um, you know, local civil ordinance is in the way of what you want to do for your campaign or something. Really look at the issue at hand and think about what the issue is. Like maybe you're sending out a lot of engagement, just a lot of messages, and people aren't answering them. Let's really look at the task. Let's look at the burnout. Let's look at the things that really bother you while you're handling that crisis on the ground. And so the third thing you need to do is inspect the workaround. So you look at the actual spreadsheets of the data and the metrics that you're looking to collect or improve on. Hopefully, you have some data from last week that shows your engagement, how many calls, text message, how many emails, how many, just how many in general, like revenue generating or groundbreaking activities were made last week. You want to really look at it from kind of a human perspective, just knowing the exact metrics that you guys are making. All right, so look at the notebooks, text logs, make sure everything's good. So yeah, make sure you're running your entire operation, not just on a spreadsheet, or make sure you're also using, a solid tool. So if everything you're doing is just off of a spreadsheet or just off of a piece of paper, you need to use a CRM. So HubSpot is a free resource. Zoho is a very affordable resource. We always, recommend those, but they're quite simple. There's a lot more, other things that you can do with AI, with building, different specific workflows, but we want to make sure that we keep it at a base level unless we have people here who are attending who want to speak at a high level to what they have. All right. So look at the data coming in. So those manual stressful workarounds are the blueprints for the next project management agreement. So your job is to build, not something massive out of thin air. You're building it brick by brick and building that exact, friction that you need to start, building up that momentum to really build something strong. All right. So fulfilling, by hand and the tactical command. So once you isolate the operational bottlenecks, you don't just, send them a link to a software platform. You want to have, your own concierge plan, your own custom project management agreement. So you look at the actual value you're offering. You look at the founder of the humanitarian operator in the eye and say, hey, let me solve this issue for you. Let me create this, you know, let me solve your issue directly. And then you want to be able to have a clean operational report with full logistics on how you operate, on what your service offering is, and you'll be able to send that in mass to people who you're targeting to help, or people who you're looking to receive help from. So yeah, you can do that manually. You can do that by just proving your value, your network, by inviting people out to something, calling people, sending text messages, being proactive in your network, asking for referrals, and then doing by hand allows you to learn the actual real edge and then build unshakable trust with people. And then you can actually build actual revenue because you're really building on these relationships before you spend a single dime on your software development. So you validate the market by hand first, you automate the delivery second. So your Tuesday command is to, you know, kind of close out everything, today, and just think about your actual solution. And really reach out to people, directly with no intent just to sell, but to solve their problem, and spend the rest of this afternoon really just reflecting on the impact that you've made from your tech, from your impact, asking people, hey, did you get that message? Hey, what did you think about, the notes that I sent out from the last meeting? And really just getting into kind of a systems review. You want to get that insight from the people who you're impacting and working with, and know, hey, are you reading this? Are we reaching you properly? So make sure you do a deep dive, do a full review on all those relationships and also the services that you're offering, making sure that it's packaged right and it's being delivered right. Even if you're going out there just helping clean up the community, make sure that that package is set up for the community activists. Make sure it's set up for those people living there locally. Set it up for the government so they can actually invest in your business. No matter what your idea is, it's important to make sure that you know the service value before you go and just dump all your resources into tech enablement. All right, so tomorrow is Workaholic Wednesday, where we're going to shut the doors for a deep solo focus. We're going to lock down on healthy time blocking, audit our information automation, and hitting the gym to protect our physical stamina. So before we cut the feed today, make sure you take a moment, write down all the things that you want to solve in your community, and also take note of arieljudah.com. Head over there, sign up, contact us so we can do a review and learn about your business and do some accountability work, just helping you meet your goals. And then also, if you have a background in building trust, and that could be solving humanitarian issues, that could be establishing a business that's able to really take over a market, we really want to welcome you to the Building Trust podcast. So reach out to us. We love to also welcome all business owners to take part in the Trusted Trade Hub, which is also our network for strategic referrals. So yeah, let's put co-reason into our relationships and build uncompromised equity together. Remember the house law: what's fun gets done. Step out of the automation trap, simplify your engine, and let's execute. I'm out.